Hey everyone, let's take a look at the patch notes on patch 0.1.1, in particular from an SSF perspective. I'm skipping skill balance changes, monster balance changes and bug fixes. Starting with mapping and endgame. We're getting 4 new tower map areas: Alpine Ridge, Buff, Mesa and Sinking Spire. Plus the Lost Towers has also been revamped, meaning no more thin corridors. The Arbiter of Ash Pinnacle boss fight will now have up to 6 respawn attempts. Higher difficulties of the boss will lower the number of respawn attempts you receive, despite Mark being fairly positive that the King of the Mist would receive the same 6 portals. They didn't make it in time for the patch, so that's going to happen in the next few weeks, and the same is true for all other Pinnacle bosses. Then something interesting, because the note states added checkpoints to map areas. I'm pretty sure that means the endgame maps, right? And if so, that is a game changer really. So missing a rare at the start of the map isn't that much of an issue anymore, as you can, use the checkpoints. This would be an amazing change. And talking about maps, they now display their biome when hovered over in the Atlas UI. Very useful for the local knowledge Atlas passive notable. More map news, because map areas have been adjusted to have more distinct content. For example, one map might have more total number of monsters, while another map is more likely to contain additional content such as strongboxes, essences or shrines. Generally speaking, the more difficult a map is to clear, or the smaller it is, the more of this content modifiers will apply, making them stand out more. I think it's a typo actually, the smaller it is. That doesn't make sense to me. You think that the bigger it is, the more of these things you're getting, right? Not the smaller it is. But okay, it might be me. Either way, this is a lot of fun, and as soon as people figure out which maps do what, which is just a matter of time, we can leverage that knowledge in solo self-found to target farm certain maps and maybe even adjust the passive Atlas tree to optimize for that. Maps that are only exclusively found in biomes containing citadels now have 50% more chance to contain essences, strongboxes and shrines. These are typically pretty bad layout maps like Sun Temple or Mine Shaft or whatever the thing is called. Pretty atrocious to run, honestly, but yeah, it may be worth it with these changes, who knows. Monsters in the Untainted Paradise have been breeding. Untainted Paradise now contains 100% more monsters, of which spawn 100% more, which means quadruple magic and rare monsters. This was very much needed. Here you see me run it before the patch and it's not great, to say the least. There was hardly anyone in there, so I'm glad this is getting better. Some map boss news. If you want to run more map bosses, they added the new Overseer's Precursor tablet. These drop from map bosses and can roll exclusive modifiers that affect map bosses. Map bosses are more common as well. You should be encountering a map boss roughly every 1 in 4 maps. To adjust for this, map bosses now drop less waystones. The devs increased how far you can zoom out on the endgame map on keyboard and mouse to match the zoom levels of the controller input. That is a buff for PC unless for some reason you're playing with a controller. Citadels can now appear closer to the Ziggurat Refuge, plus they improved the visibility of the citadels on the endgame map or the Atlas map with a white pillar of light visible through the fog. Let's talk league mechanics. Breach got nerfed as expected because they reduced the number of monsters and small chests from breaches by 15%. I think they mean, instead of the small chests, the breach hands. I haven't seen small chests with breach, but maybe I missed something. As a good number of monsters couldn't even spawn because it was so crowded in a breach, there's a chance you will not notice this change. I think to some extent you likely will, but I think breach is still a mechanic that is going to be a favorite for players to run, plus it provides some unique rewards in self-found such as the catalysts and the breach stone to fight chest. Essence monsters now have increased toughness per essence modifier affecting them, meaning essence monsters will be harder to kill. The devs have added a small delay before released essence monsters can use their skills. The amount of simulacrum splinters found in maps got buffed by 20%. Great for SSF, now we can get those Delirium Atlas passive points a little bit faster. Strongboxes spawn waves of enemies much faster, and the Strongbox fog effect now fades away once all the waves of enemies have spawned. Plus, monsters spawning from a Strongbox have a visual effect. Research strongboxes are more common. These are the ones that give runes, barriers and ultimatums. Finally, the volcanic crack, lightning storms, ice spikes and chaos barrages modifiers have all been adjusted to activate after a delay. While doing ritual, the devs increased the chance for omens to appear as ritual rewards, which is of course great for SSF, that could really help with some crafting. For expedition, the rarity of items at the expedition vendor now increases with shop level, which I think is supposed to say player level, so shops generally have more rare items at higher levels. Some patch notes on gear and crafting. Charms now play an effect on your character when they are automatically used. Charms also will display their number of charges and when they are active. Socketables, such as runes, can now be overwritten by placing another socketable item in the socket, which is just great of course in solo self-found. That really helps with managing your gear and resistances and whatnot. Flasks with quality can now be salvaged, that's pretty good, you get some baubles. The devs reduced the chance for items to roll some of the less desirable item modifiers, and depending on how that is implemented, this may resolve some of the crafting complaints in solo self-found. It's still RNG of course, but with better modifiers, crafting from scratch is much more viable, so I'm curious to test if there's a significant difference. It seems like pretty much any unique that wasn't used in builds got buffed with a few very interesting results. For example, the Elevor unique helmet grants you a flask slot. That's interesting to get that outside of belts. A good number of uniques get life regeneration added, which is good for twink leveling of course. It's buffs across the board, although for a lot of them you'll have to spend the divine orb to update your unique if you already have it. Some other noteworthy stuff, this is quite random. For the solo self-found people, the devs enabled migration from solo self-found leagues to their corresponding parent leagues. The loading times of the world map are improved. Alva now has an option to gamble for items when placed in your hideout. Minions that died from being out of range now immediately revive near you. Armor has been made more effective by approximately 15%. Loot filters can be used on consoles. About 50 or so MTX from Path of Exile 1 are enabled in Path of Exile 2, so open up that cosmetic tab and see if your favorite MTX has been ported after the patch launches. Two changes didn't make it apart from the Pinnacle boss portals, which I talked about already. First, Una still doesn't sing, maybe the Baron can help a little bit, or GGG dev. And the map stash, or the Waystone stash, isn't finished either, which will be there soon TM. I will also be back soon TM, because Energy Shield and Grim Feast didn't get nerfed, so it's time to post my Endgame Infernalist build, level 96 at this point, should be fun. I still have to write the whole thing, but that's coming soon TM, so stay tuned. And have fun with the patch guys, it's gonna be a banger. I hope you had a good time watching the video, let me know what you think. Also let me know if you have any suggestions. Subscribe and like for more PoE SSF content. Thanks for watching and making it to the end. Love you all, see you soon, bye bye.